This is a quick overview of a paper that is highly informative and concise, a mere 12-minute read, by the two researchers, Stefan Piotrowski and Michael Karus, who work at the Innova Institute in Germany. Now, the background is really about biodiversity and the payments and subsidies that the EU provides for biodiversity, which includes crop rotation. Though this is helpful for the EU, not sure that applies here, but the information that we do have that can be helpful starts at 2. The effect on soil and crop rotations. In Europe, 80% of the textile grade flax, which is made into linen, is grown in France, Netherlands, and Belgium. And it requires a 6-year crop rotation and even more in some instances. And they usually rotate it out with sugar beets, wheat, corn, rapeseed, legumes as a nitrogen fixer, and hemp. Increasingly, hemp is being added to the mix, as I mentioned in a previous video. This was due in France. This was due to the dramatic loss of the sugar beet crop, and that occurred when the EU banned a particularly toxic pesticide with no other pesticide or chemical that could be used to suppress the pest. And what occurred was the pest came in and ate it, began to spread a fungus disease, and they lost 70% one year, 10% another year. They find this is not the situation that they're faced with now that they've adapted to hemp as an integrated crop rotation. This was happening, but not at the volumes that it is now. One interesting little tidbit in here is the 10 to 20% higher wheat yields after the cultivation in hemp, and with flax that's thrown in there. You could grow hemp, then wheat, then rapeseed or corn, and then throw in your flax at the end. Now, in the United States, this is not generally known, but I mentioned it in a previous video. We have roughly 400,000 acres that are being grown of flax, mostly in North Dakota and some in Montana. But almost all of that is going for seed oil as opposed to textile. And I believe part of that is we have no scutching machinery or processing for this valuable crop. Pest management is interesting because they talk about using no herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, and I would add to that desiccants. But they do mention France and its utilization every 8 years of a pesticide application, or they're really just saying an application. Not sure what the form is, but it's to suppress the hemp flea beetle. In the United States, we have potentially a similar problem with the western black flea beetle and the pale striped flea beetle, which I believe not only eat the plant, but they transmit the mosaic disease, which can destroy your crop. Fertilization, doesn't apply the same everywhere. There's some interesting citations, but the point here is all about agrobiodiversity as opposed to, corn or seed corn or ethanol corn year after year after year on the Great Plains, whether it's just, GMO soil with applications of not only pre-treatments of herbicides, but then post-treatments of desiccants. I mean, this is a thing. Hell, in North Dakota, you've got a list of desiccants that can be used on the flax crops. That's to speed up the harvesting process. It's about 7 or 8. They all come under different trade names. It's not just glyphosate. They have new products that they're using. Charts come along with this. Highly informative article. We'll include the link. We'll include the paper. Thank you very much. Have a good day.